This is the first of our series, Autismo Explains All. So I found myself in an uncomfortable position, and I read about someone else's perspective on a blog, and it was very anonymous. It was written to keep everyone's privacy ensured, correct? Okay, I'm good on that. The problem is that the perspective that it's written from completely invalidates what happened and how it happened. So I want to go through a few things really quickly before I start reading this. I was going to contact the person on my own and tell them once some of the things in my life were finished, I would get back to them, because it was one of those things where I said stop, but needed to readdress it when life was kind of settled down, right? So this is called Communication is Hard. And as an autistic woman, I know that I'm disabled, but I also know that I do have a responsibility in how I behave. As a person who is an advocate for not continuing cycles of abuse, also not using my diagnosis as an excuse. So, when language is non-functional, it's often hard for the speaker to self-correct. In my experience, non-functional language doesn't happen by choice, but as a kind of defense mechanism or a last-ditch effort to keep the lines of communication open in some way, even if it's unreliable and potentially harmful. The conversation was harmful. In fact, I stated 3 times, please stop what you're saying. This is not helpful. In fact, it's triggering me. I have PTSD. I've been stalked. I've had spite callings to different agencies of the state. So I'm a very private person. This person knows that. I was, the whole situation revolved around, I don't even know if that's important, but it revolved around not being able to follow through. But that's not the real issue of why I stopped speaking to this person. The follow through had nothing to do with the job or the issue at hand. The issue at hand was the fact that I said stop 3 times, and I clarified why it was harmful, why it was triggering, why I could no longer speak. The person goes on to state that they were having a hard time communicating over the phone, but I put my boundary out there, which was do not come to my home. But there were enough words used after I kept saying 3 times, please stop. On the phone, this is what they say, which I struggled to communicate effectively over in the first place. I did actually manage to say clearly I had no words and was unable to communicate effectively. No, you were able to communicate effectively because I continued to tell you to stop. But I couldn't make those words let them know it was fine. Instead, I fell back on a script that I used. The script had not been great reception from this person in the past, but somehow I got filed in my brain under words that show I care about a person. But multiple times I let the person know those words are not helpful, they're harmful, and they're triggering, and I don't need them right now. After a great many I don't understand, I'm confused from me, and a great deal of being talked over by them, which, yes, I kept saying stop saying what you're saying. The call ended. It ended with them telling me they were triggered by my words with me extremely confused and unsure what happened. I'm not sure how someone would be confused when I say, you're triggering me and why. One part of my mission was to get there before they closed. Okay, so this person, after this conversation, just decides to drive at night during a rainstorm and drive clear across the state, they say, right? To one of their favorite grocery stores. Fine, whatever. But you're also putting other people at risk by your driving. Somehow, without either getting pulled over or dying in a car crash, I made it there within 5 minutes to spare. It was very exciting and distracting, which was another one of my goals. So you put everyone at risk because you were upset. They purchased their items and they drove back to town. I stopped by to drop off the item. Well, first of all, anybody who knows me knows that I don't like anybody to drop by unannounced. Second of all, when you look at the timeline, they sent the text saying, I would like to drop these things over at your house. But they were already at my house. So my brother was awake. And my brother wanted to make sure that things didn't get rained on, correct? So they were already outside. That person met my brother outside. And all it was were flowers and a letter. I didn't read the letter, so I can't state what the letter was about. This is also triggering to the stalking because for me, you saying I'm going to be there then takes the ownership of me being able to make a decision, yes or no, if you're going to be in my area, like at my home. So the timeline was very triggering to past events, correct? Then they go on to say, so that's that, I guess. I'm not in the habit of begging people to be my friends or expecting people to be around or anyone they find triggering. I'm also not in the habit of hanging out with people who are unwilling or even unable or to work through misunderstandings. Here's the deal. I'm not unwilling to work through misunderstandings as well. My problem is sometimes I need a break from whatever it was. Maybe that person really didn't mean to be triggering.
Oh, the 12 to 12:01. When I was texted, she was on her way.
Right.
I was outside, told her I'd be out smoking a cigarette, and she was already parked down the road.
Right.
So she had been sitting outside the house after midnight, saying she was on her way, trying to avoid things, I guess. And I was already out there seeing her car already parked.
Right.
And it was 12 o'clock she sent it. I received it. I replied back at 12:01. She was not being truthful about where she was and the fact that she was creeping parked down the street in front of someone else's house when you have a full driveway.
Right. Right.
So she was already there the whole time.
Which takes my ability to say yes or no out of the equation. You're already here. You're already doing something that everybody who knows me within my inner circle would know.
And you were asleep with your child.
Yeah. Correct.
And I pay $400 a month rent here, and if I want to stand out in front and smoke a cigarette, you can hand stuff over to me. That is the proper way to do it.
Okay, also sibling. My sibling does not speak for me. And this is one of the things that really pisses me off about people. This has been coming up a lot. Either maybe a husband or whoever. When somebody defaults to someone else as being the bad guy, it takes away my or their moral agency. I said these things. I do not want to talk to her again. I was so triggered. Not only because I said 3 times, stop, stop, stop. That feels like to me emotional rape. And I know most people will be like, ooh, don't use that R word. No, I said 3 times, stop, stop, stop. And I explained why it was harmful and why we shouldn't be even discussing this issue, right? But to saddle my brother with that, like as if he overstepped his boundary, I think really what was going on is that he was driving home the point of, you did X, Y, and Z. I don't need to know what happened. My sister was already in and she explained it enough. I don't need to know your side now, right? Also, in this blog post, and look, I'm not mad about the blog post, but I will say this. I had thought, I'm going to email this person and say when it's all done, right? I've already said that. But the whole blog post skips the whole part where my feelings and how things went down were invalidated, right? And my perspective. When you keep saying, I don't think you're good, or I don't whatever, and I'm saying, I'm fine, leave me alone, stop, 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 you're then invalidating me. You're then telling me how I should feel. And anybody who's within this, wants to work with other people and not further the cycle of abuse knows to stop. Stop. There was a part in there that was talking about perplexing about being kind of routine, this being an unimportant. Yeah, what has been interesting and also perplexing to me is how very routine and unimportant this has felt. It's been years since the last time I lost a friend without any real explanation, and it's yet still, oh, this again? Oh, well. Well, that's not how I felt. It was a very triggering, and I'm not going to shoulder everything that person said was bad, bad, bad. But when I've told you you're triggering me 3 times repeatedly and explaining why it's triggering, and you continue, for this to be interesting yet perplexing and kind of routine, maybe just maybe you are abusive. Maybe just maybe there are red flags about you. And you do need to check those things. Because I stated very clearly 3 times why the conversation needed to stop, why it was over the top for me, and just, I did not want to hear it anymore. A, I didn't identify with what that person had to say. B, it wasn't their place to even tell me how I should feel. There's a part up here where they basically say that I didn't take kindly to this kind of behavior anyway, this help or kind of conversation. Well, then why the fuck do you think if I didn't in the past, and I'm not saying I did or didn't because I don't know, that's their perspective, right? But if you're saying that you already knew it didn't take place or take kindly to it, why would you redo it? And then they're telling me I'm triggered. Why would you keep doing it? It's like taking me into Walmart, bright lights, all the people. Ooh, let's go on a date there. Although you know it's going to break me down and make me have a meltdown, why would you keep going there? Were you purposely doing this? And I'm not putting intentions on anyone. I hate intentions. Everybody who knows me knows I hate intentions.